Hello, this is Paula Gloria, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. This is part of the series that I'm doing to sort of buffer video interviews that I've had for about 6 years with Ullrich Zimmermann and his encounters with a very powerful guru such as Sai Baba. In an attempt to make this information something that's constructive, I am going as deep as I can into all aspects of our society so that we can better understand how to create new realities. This is something that I bought for myself, some months ago when I was feeling a little bit, I don't know, I guess you'd say kind of overwhelmed with the whole New York scene. And I thought that, Shirley Temple would make me feel better. So what I want to do now is do a roll-in, and then we're going to discuss it later. So here we are. This is Shirley Temple in Glad Rags to Riches. So let's carry on with Shirley Temple and what was supposed to cheer me up.
Where's the lullaby lobster pillow? Pardon me. Sweetheart, come and save me from this vile place. Your dance was terrible. I cannot go on. I'm so tired of it all. Please let me go. I'll hold you here until you decide to marry me. No, 1,000 times no, you type of rubber. So you spurn my brother riches and things. Then you stay right here and pay and pay and pay at 8%. Don't cry, honey. Excuse me, officer. I'm looking for that sweetheart from down on the farm. Say, that looks like my sweetheart. Tito. Look out, here he comes. Where is that man? There's no one here. And who are you, my pretty maid? I'm the Bellback Reader's cousin. Ha-ha, and a cowboy one, too. I love my wife, but all you kids. What are you doing here? Leave it or not, I was waiting for a horse car. There, where you poor hayseed. Have a care, the day of reckoning is at hand. Yeah? Throw him out. I go now, but I'll return. When I do, I'll be back. No! No! There's only upward, and they feel their pain. A pretty life to sing, they make me happy and free from
Okay, here we are back again. Of course, you know that was Shirley Temple. And this is something I've always had in the back of my mind for a few months, ever since I went down. I think I went and got it at a dollar store, and I thought it would cheer me up, but I was actually kind of chilled because when I used to see Shirley Temple as a little kid, I never remembered seeing those. And apparently those were from a whole series called Baby Burlesque. And of course, you know, burlesque is associated with the skin trade, and to see little children, you know, in that kind of atmosphere, sort of sent a chill up my back. And it, you know, I began to understand why Shirley Temple's mom was a very protective stage mom. So I think she saw the talent that was in her child, but she wanted to make sure that that she was rescued from something rather bleak. And I think it's important to realize today that there's hundreds of thousands of children that are missing. And I, as you know, many of you know, I went to India to study this issue of pedophilia once it was brought to my attention at the Ramtha School of Enlightenment that there were sex slaves in the White House. I actually heard a presentation given by Kathy O'Brien, and I was so astonished, shocked, overwhelmed. And I really took it to heart when Ramtha, who channels through the body of J.Z. Knight, came out after. I think he came on at about noon, and from about 10 until noon, Kathy O'Brien and the man who deprogrammed her were making a tour and making presentations. And what Ramtha said was the reason this kind of thing goes on, sexual slavery, is because it is so unfathomable to the decent population that in their ignorance of it and unwillingness to even acknowledge this, and being accommodated, or in a way you could say manipulated, by a media that has no interest in showing them what is the total picture. That's why it continues going on. So once it came to my attention, I didn't think that writing our congressman would do any good, because chances are some of those congressmen were going to be the very people who would have a lot to cover up. And as Webster Tarpley said, there's a pedophilia ring right now that's centered in Omaha, Nebraska. And this association, there's a cabal right now in Washington, D.C., and the very pedophiles that are doing atrocious things and causing, huge suffering to children are those that are purporting to be self-righteous and homophobes and so on. So my show is all about going farther down the rabbit hole. And this little thing I showed of Shirley Temple was just an idea of mine to understand our roots and understand what media is and what it could be. Now, as I explained before, because I think I'll show this after I show the one of when I read this, something that I got at Union Square by a lady who was just sitting at the subway, by the subway entrance, near where I have my booth, where I sell, by the way, or make available, 9/11 Synthetic Terror Made in USA. This is one of the greatest scholars on international terrorism, and it's an absolute travesty that this book is not readily available in most major bookstores. And until Amy Goodman gets Webster Tarpley on Democracy Now!, Webster's my cross to bear. He's a delightful cross because it's just a pleasure to be around such a lucid thinker. But in any case, I read this entire story, and it turns out she's in the sex trade, and I hope that I'm going to be able to get her on the show, because I think the more we delve farther down the rabbit hole in our society, go farther down what's all around, and then go within ourselves to understand why we have appetites that cause suffering for others, and why we very much need to have the blessings of great masters in order to help us achieve a higher style of functioning. And Jesus, of course, is one hugely profound example. And what you see next to my crucifix there is a picture of Ma Kali on a book called Why Power, and that book talks about the Divine Mother, the 5 elements, physicality, and the whole premise of my show based on a master who really, really took my request at face value when I said I wanted my charity to be more effective. He said, you need God power, you need angel power, you need power objects, you need to understand who the Divine Mother is. And it took me so long, it took me years to fathom what he was talking about. It's not just an idol, because I come from a monotheistic religion, a Christian. Christians, Jews, Muslims are all people of the book. And what Swami Kaleshwar was trying to teach me, because he was a man of the miracles, was that all of the great avatars, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, all of them understood the power of the Divine Mother. And I also didn't understand how she was the 5 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, but it was something that I certainly grew to understand. So the reason I have the crucifix up here is that, these are times when we need to tune in to our divinity, and we need to seek the blessings and the guidance of those who have gone before us. But at the same time, we need to really tune in wisely and make sure that we have a Sat Guru, a true Guru, somebody who has the capacity to take us all the way. And that's something that we can only attract in our life through a fervent, deep desire. Otherwise, if we have a sort of a wishy-washy desire, then we're going to get sort of a wishy-washy master. So, again, I have said in this whole area of pedophilia, I'm sitting on 6 hours of interviews done with about 6 or 7 years ago, with Ullrich Zimmermann, talking about his sexual experiences with Satya Sai Baba. And this whole thing came out at a wine ceremony at the Ramtha School of Enlightenment when Ramtha called him in front of 1,000 people for a truth teaching, because the sublime experience at the Ramtha School of Enlightenment through using the great gift of wine, because everything in creation is a gift. We just have to be educated and know how to judiciously use all of the abundance of nature in such a way that we can unfold greater and greater and greater balance within and without. And those who are in great balance, profound balance, we call avatars and masters. And we can be profoundly inspired by these masters and these avatars. And when we're inspired by them, we can start to achieve what we thought before was unachievable. So things like pedophilia and things like even Shirley Temple having launched her career, it looks like in an industry that was catering to pedophilia, or there was certainly a lot of indication this would appeal to that kind of taste. I want to see if we can switch media and have it not appeal to our lowest common denominator, or appeal to that part of us which wants to go to sleep. We don't want to know too many details about what's going on in Iraq. I want to switch it to where we can be profoundly inspired. We can use the media, and we can use all of our different religions, and use the media, like say global public access, so that we can have people from one part of the world, from one culture, from one perspective, come together, share that perspective, and with skill, things like nonviolent communication, where we create connections of empathy, we can have a deeper and more profound understanding of the religion that we were brought up in, or the culture that we were brought up in. What's interesting about this crucifix is that it was given to me by Sri Sai Kaleshwara Swami, and it took me quite a while to realize that this process of crucifixion is a process that's known in ancient India, or Indian scriptures, Hindu yogic scriptures, as an agori process. And agora and Gora and Agora is ugly and beautiful. So there's different ways of getting beyond this illusion, different paths. Now, one reason I'm so adamant about supporting all of the cultures and all of the religions is that we are born into a certain family, into a genetic stream for a reason. And the sooner we buckle down, stop complaining about our imperfect background, and stop arguing for our limitations, we can start moving into that place where we're really in total awe about the tremendous gift that we have in a human life. And again, along those lines, the problem of pedophilia is that a child's soul is so close to the surface that it's so easily bruised. And when the child's soul is bruised, we have, growing up in this society, a lot of wounded people. And those wounded people not operating at their fullest capacity means that every single thread of society, which is important, if one thread is damaged, the entire cloth is damaged. And that's why today it's just mind-boggling how out of balance things have gotten. We have such an enormous appetite for meat that we have 9.5 billion creatures that are being slaughtered in this machine.
We are unavailable.
So anyway, I was interrupted there. The point is that when you have a pedophile ring and you have an appetite that's wedded for this type of thing based on a lack of ignorance, and that based on ignorance of how to use these energies, because you've got this hellfire and damnation and sort of a second-grade understanding of God up here being judgmental, and with this laptop computer keeping track of all the good and bad things that you've done. That immature understanding of God and our role and our purpose in the universe leads to sort of an abnegation of spiritual responsibility to the entire society. It's just plain not understood that the least of us is part of us. And that's something that all the great masters always are examples of compassion, of helping, and of caring for all. The great masters never have this inclination to only respect the powerful and the rich and the beautiful people. As a matter of fact, you often see them keeping company with the social outcasts. And in India, there's an entire tradition called Avadut, where these people are so exalted and so evolved that they have no need, or I wouldn't say respect as if they disrespect, but they're just not overly awed by the kind of badges of success that the rest of the society is just constantly scrambling for. And so when you go deeply into the issue of pedophilia, you begin to realize that the victims grow up themselves and usually become perpetrators of the same crime. So in order to break the cycle, you need a huge dose of compassion. And if you're able to achieve that, it really takes the blessings of those who are in an exalted level of consciousness. And an exalted level of consciousness has to do with power. And power is something that you channel from nature. It's a gift from nature. When all of the elements are in balance, a human being can handle this. So here at the right of my crucifix is the Divine Mother, Ma Kali. And Ma Kali is considered the most horrific aspect of the Divine Mother, but also that aspect that has the most power and can bring the most abundance and the most kindness. If hundreds of thousands of children are missing today, and it's mind-boggling, because when I start putting two and two together, tantric processes, I was going to say, when I'm so into people staying in their tradition, in each different tradition you have a genetic potential that you're born into, and if you stick with that, you're more likely to transcend it than if you skip around and say, oh, I'll try this tradition, this tradition, this tradition. And it's very exciting, because if you can transcend the tradition truly, not just sort of leave it because you're deciding that it's inconvenient, and you make the connections to the divine connections are so profound, because then you're not beholden to anyone. Then you know the God within, and you know what the profound power is, and you sleep well, and you're balanced with others, and without any effort you can be generous because you're connected. And so that's the type of divinity where you need the channeling of education. So what I'm saying is, putting two and two together, knowing about mantras, knowing about yantras. I often have the swastika or the Star of David or the Sri Yantra up, just to constantly illustrate to people how conditioned we are, and how we need to gather back that conditioning and go beyond it so we can have our full capacity. Because, like I said, putting two and two together, I shudder to think the type of low-level rituals, blood sacrifices even, that may be being done to these children. And it's something that I think, if we marshal our resources and we are kind to each other, because our schizophrenic leadership now has spread throughout the country to where clinical trials of drug studies are not available to us, but we are so needing to have a parent figure, because we're so infantilized, that's Barry Swicker's term, that we don't have the capacity to stand on our own feet. But once we learn that these 2 feet that we have and this body that we have is surely created in the image of God, and it's a temple of God, then that gives us the hope and the inspiration that we can go we can go so much farther than our mediocre media has indicated that we could. And we can comprehend the atrocities that are going on. We don't have to be depressed. We don't have to be angry, discouraged. We don't have to lose sleep at night. We don't have to be taking depression medication. Knowledge and clarity, and absolutely the yearning for the divine blessings is what's going to bring us into profound harmony with the environment. So this is Paula Gloria thanking you for joining me farther down the rabbit hole as we consider how to gather back all parts of our society so we can have a beautiful fabric, and how we can protect those who are weaker, and in this case the children, the younger ones. Later on we're going to talk about women and how it's important to protect them also. Thank you. I'm Paula Gloria, and this is Farther Down the Rabbit Hole.